All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. I'm your host, Taryell Simmons, and today we have the honor of speaking with Bishop Jack Bomar. Or is it Bomber? See, I did it already. We was just talking about we was going to jack this up. So Bishop Jack is in the building, a respected spiritual leader and community influencer. Bishop Jack, thank you for joining us today. How are you, good
I am
sir?
fantastic, Taryell. Blessings to you, and thank you so much for having me on. It's
No,
Bomar, like Omar, but Jack is
Bomar,
fine.
Bomar. I don't know how I forgot it so quickly. See, you already knew that this was going to happen. You said, just call me Bishop Jack. That's what everybody called me, and everything under the sun. So I apologize, and
No
I
worries.
I appreciate you for having forgiveness in me and giving me grace.
It's all right. All is well.
Look,
Thank you for having me on.
yeah, thank you. And for everybody who's getting the video experience, this man, he stay fly. Like I don't know where he got this fit from, but I'm gonna have to see his stylist or see where I can get this fit when I get it. But I really love the gear. I really love the gear.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from you, that says a lot. I really appreciate it.
Uh so let's start off, man. I want to know about your journey because I got to read some of your bio, and your journey is fascinating and it's
Mm.
inspiring to me. Could you share with us how you began and what led you to your current path?
Well, it's always a joy to share. I'm originally from Tennessee, so I grew up in a small
Hmm.
rural town, country part of Camden, Tennessee. And very early, I started, grew up in the church. I was very active in the
Hmm.
church and became the church piano player, musician at the age of 9. And
Wow.
from 9, just being, I loved it. There was something about being in spiritual community that just fed me. And you didn't have to ask me to get ready to go. I longed for Sundays to get dressed. And my progression just started very honestly. Church
Uh-huh.
piano player, musician, very active
Hmm.
with the Sunday school and traveling with the church and the choir all over the region,
Damn.
growing up, and then started speaking. And from there, went to college and heard about Les Brown, saw Les Brown as a motivational speaker. And I'm like, I want to do
I
that.
love Les Brown. Like it never gets old to me with Les Brown. Like he if you want somebody to get you motivated, Les
Yeah,
Brown is the person to get you motivated.
Mr. Motivator, right? And I'm like, here's the thing
What?
about it, Terrell. I was so shy. I'm like, how can I do that? And I don't even like speaking before people. It was enough. I
Uh-huh.
could play the piano because my back is to the audience, right? But to have
Yeah.
to stand before the crowd. And so while I was in college, my fraternity, the fraternity that I'm a member of, asked me to represent the fraternity local chapter in an
Hmm.
oratorical contest. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no way, I can't do that. And I did, and I won, and I loved it. I loved it, and
What?
so went
You
to,
went on stage and got your Les Brown on, huh?
it's something. Something happened, and we'll talk about that. I believe that when we're in alignment with purpose, our destiny,
Mm.
that we tap into a vibration and energy. We tap
Hmm.
into the zone where, in and of ourselves, we can't do it, but we tap
Hmm.
into that greater power that can do all things in us, through us, and as us. And so I realized in that moment, I was not myself, but I was in myself. And as
Hmm.
that, I wanted to do more of it. And so I didn't know. I thought I was just going to be I wanted to do motivational speaking. And my journey has been learning to listen to the inner guidance and trusting that. And we call it by different names, the still small voice, that something told me, something within. And as a child, I've listened to that, and it's guided me along the way. Move to this city,
Hmm.
move to Atlanta, enroll in ministerial school, go to seminary. And so I didn't have
Hmm.
really my path to what I'm doing now. I didn't have that
Hmm.
as a plan. All I
Yeah.
wanted to do was learn to follow the guidance and be true to that, because I know if I'm true to it, it's going to lead me to very beautiful experiences. And as David said, to green
Hmm.
pastures and still waters. And that's been my story. And so today I oversee 2 extraordinary legacies and
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Ike's legacy. If you know Reverend Ike, the legendary Reverend Ike, known to millions as Reverend Ike, and
Right.
Bishop Barbara King here in Atlanta, Hillside.
Wow.
They both
That's
entrusted me.
beautiful.
Well, the Ike family entrusted me with the Reverend's legacy, and Dr. Barbara, my spiritual mother, entrusted me with hers. And so we created this kind of network to where we've now expanded our ministry. We opened in
Mhm.
Australia last year. We opened in Hawaii last year, and looking to do some expansion even in Ghana this year.
Oh, congratulations on that. And yes, like I want to tap into some of that you just spoke to because spiritual when I was reading about it, there was some things that was in there about spirituality and material wealth. And I was thinking, I was like, man, this is interesting. This is the first time I've seen this from this concept because when I think about my grandma and my aunties, when they used to go to their old Baptist church and so forth, and like how they talk about money and wealth and so forth, and too much of it, oh, that's the devil right there, right? Like and I remember that subconsciously when I was reading, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've never seen wealth intertwined with spirituality in this way. So, speaking about the late Reverend Ike, I know that you've been deeply influenced by the teachings of him. How have these teachings shaped your understanding of spirituality and material wealth?
I'm telling you, although I never met him in person, but since I've been with his organization since 2010, and he's one of my greatest teachers right now. I grew up listening to Reverend Ike on the radio. My mother was an avid supporter of Reverend Ike's, and so he would come on 1 o'clock in the morning after midnight and booming voice. You can't lose with the stuff I use. Get out of the ghetto and into the getmo. And you can have what you want to have, do what you want to do, be who you want to be through the presence and the power of God in you. So his teachings and these teachings that we're a part of, what we call higher consciousness teachings, have truly shaped and informed who I am today and how I show up and how I approach ministry. And so when we're talking about spirituality, which is a
Mm,
difference. Most people now in this particular climate of society, in this
mm,
day and age, there are more people who consider themselves to be spiritual rather than
mm,
religious, and we have come
mm,
out of religious contexts of where we had to go to church, or all of the things that we were taught and how the Bible was imparted to us. But when we're talking about spirituality, we're talking about
mm,
the deeper connection with the highest self. It's known by
mm,
many names, and I love it. Big enough to take on
mhm,
whatever name we give it, him or her, God, Allah, Olodumare, Spirit, something told me, whatever the reference, the universe, cosmic consciousness. It is that
mhm,
connection with it and knowing that we are one with it. That is the
mhm,
ultimate prosperity consciousness, knowing that we are always one and connected with the source of all. And when you think
mhm,
about this universe that we're in, it's such a lavish and abundant universe. The earth is always birthing. You put a seed in the ground in the right soil,
mhm.
the earth, the mother knows how to take that seed and produce a harvest, and that's the universe. And it's all
Right.
around us. Unfortunately, what has happened, uh,
Mhm,
religion and how the Bible has imparted that slave religion has played a trick on us. And for so
mhm,
long, we've been taught that you got to wait until you die and prayerfully go to in the distant by and by somewhere in the sky to get your
mm.
pie. And
Man.
we've changed that. I wrote this book years ago. I did this class. It's called Radical Prosperity. This isn't the best copy of it, but it's God and money and
Okay.
how to manifest your divine riches. And it's all about learning how to tap in. When we're talking about even money and prosperity, it's all
Mhm,
consciousness, it's vibration, it's
mhm,
frequency. Money is psychic vibration. And when we get on the frequency of it, you don't have to work for it. You don't have to strive for it. You don't have to lie, cheat, steal, and connive for it. You can draw it to you. We become money magnets because, as Reverend
right.
Ike would teach, the highest consciousness of money is I am that. I am money.
Mhm,
I am prosperity. I learned this years ago, Taryell. I didn't realize it when I started. I always taught growing up. I grew up in the missionary Baptist church. And the things that I was
Mhm.
taught, I always felt that there was something more. There was another understanding that it just wasn't being imparted. And it wasn't until I started my quest and searching and seeking that it was revealed to me. And one thing that I learned many, many years ago is that the mind, there's a part of us, the Bible calls it the deeper heart, and we call it the subconscious mind, learns through
Mhm.
repetition. That's why we repeat prayers or mantras or
Mhm.
words or ideas. And the more that we repeat an idea, it impresses that deeper mind, the subconscious mind. And whatever idea is
Mm.
impressed on that subconscious mind, it's going to play out and be expressed in our life. And so I started
Yeah.
praying this mantra many years ago. I am rich every morning, over 200 times a day. I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, using the spiritual ID, I am, which is the
Mhm.
ultimate divine divinity, accessing the divinity, the God within. I am rich. And then I went from I am rich to I am money and I am
Right.
prosperous 200 times all day long. And then you start feeling that. You feel that you're raising the vibration and the frequency, getting on the frequency of it.
Right.
And it just starts finding its way to you. Hallelujah.
Right. I love this. I love this. And you probably opening the minds of a lot of people who have been living at a lower frequency when it comes to this prosperity consciousness. And I'm over here thinking, I'm like, many struggle with the idea of prosperity consciousness. And you gave us like the practice of it. Can you explain what it means and how one can really develop it and and come into it? Because you're so good at showing the practice of it. How does one shift the mindset and become and start to really develop it?
That's a great question, Terrell. And for those who come out of religious traditions, if they began to work just Psalm 23, it's right there. David says this, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now, and if we do a translation of that, look at it through the lens of metaphysics and the esoteric lenses. The Lord
Mhm.
is the law, the source. The law is my shepherd, my provider. What does a shepherd do? Provides, protects, guides, and directs. The Lord, the law, the source, shall provide me with everything that I need. I have no reason to want. Not only is it going to provide me everything I need, it's going to lead me beside
Mhm.
still waters, green pastures. It's going to restore my soul. That's the ultimate. Starting there, praying that prayer, that
Mhm.
Psalm 23, reading it, not just reading it, internalizing it, and go from seeing the Lord as something outside of the self to realizing that the Lord is the law, whether it's the law of mind, the law of life, the source of all, is my good shepherd. I'm one with it and provides me with everything. The greatest, I would say that the greatest, we've been taught this idea of sin. If there's the greatest sin is that
Mhm.
of separation, thinking that we are separate from our source, which we're not.
Mm.
We are the image, made in the image and after the likeness of cosmic consciousness. And
Mhm.
everything that the divine God, Ola Damari, Allah used to make the universe, all of those elements are within us. Now we're made in the image. What's often happened, we've been taught to try to make the divine in our image, and that image is so limited. It's lack, it's sick, it's poor, it's broke, it's
Mhm.
confused, and all of these other things. But when we go back to the reality and the truth, we are made in the image of the divine
Mhm.
and begin to work on
Right.
what does that image look like. And what that requires us to do is to begin to explore our prosperity and our money
Mhm.
psychology and our prosperity and money theology. What do you
Mhm.
really believe about prosperity? What is it that you feel deeply
Mm.
about prosperity? What does your religious traditions and your religious teachings and your faith teachings tell you? How does our religion inform our understanding of prosperity? Because we reflect what we understand about it and what we truly feel about it. It's going
Mhm.
to show up in our lives. And for some, we've been taught that the misquote of Paul says money is the root of all evil. That is not what the Bible says. It says that the
Mm.
love of money. Oh, when the Bible also says it's easy for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get in heaven. Well, if you go visit that area, you'll see that there's really a place called the eye of the needle. In order for the camel to get through, the camel has to remove everything from its back, lower itself, and then get through. Well, it's saying that because the mind or the man, when we read about man in the Bible from the spiritual teachings, it's all about mind, not your mind, not his mind or her mind, it's my mind. And when I get my mind
Mhm.
right, everything in my life will get right. It's going to change. And so changing those ideas of what we were taught, it's not money is evil, it's the love of it. People sell their, and Reverend Ike says if there's anything worse than the love of money, it's the lack of it. Because it's the lack of
Yeah,
money that has people killing each other, robbing and stealing and losing their mind trying to get it. It's that
yeah,
consciousness of separation. We come back to the source.
right.
Taking that breath, just taking the
All of
breath.
this makes me think of like a person's faith, right? And specifically faith in like manifesting abundance. And in your experience, how critical is faith and spirituality in manifesting abundance and success in life?
Faith is the key, Taryell. There's a passage from Hebrews that says faith is the substance. Listen to this.
Mhm.
It is the substance of things hoped for, and faith, our ability to perceive that which is in the invisible and bring it into visibility is not only is the substance of the things hoped for, it is the evidence of things not seen. So faith is our ability to believe contrary to the evidence, what's showing up or the facts that might be appearing. Faith, our willingness to peer into what seems to be nothing and look in that nothing and believe and feel that something can come out of that. And I believe that, especially melanated people,
Mhm.
we are people of faith. And
Mhm.
not just melanated people, we are creatures, we are creations of faith. And there's that inside of us that's always at some level anticipating something better coming out of the situation. There's got to be a way
Mhm.
we're going to get through it. And faith is the key to our prosperity. I love what Napoleon Hill says.
Mhm.
Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, he says, whatever the mind can
Mhm. You know,
conceive and believe,
right.
it can achieve.
But I don't want that to be confused with just, you know, if I believe and I have faith, that's all the work that I need to do, because
Oh
the
no,
scripture always
faith
states
without
faith
works
works
is
is
dead.
dead, right?
You got to do some work.
You gotta do some
Listen,
work,
you got to,
but there's some. Let's keep it real. There's some people spiritually, religiously, they like, oh, I'm gonna have faith, but they ain't putting in the work. And I'm like, yo, faith without
uh-uh.
works is dead.
No, 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 no. You got to move your feet. Have faith, believe, and move your feet. And that means we're moving on the divine ideas. People often pray, oh God, give me money, bless me, and increase my prosperity. And you know how the divine mind works?
Mhm.
The divine mind will send a divine idea, a rich idea that requires us to move on it. It could be a prospering idea. And the idea comes, and most people, those people who just want to sit on their deer ear and just believe God for it, don't want to move on the idea. They miss the moment.
Mhm.
And what happens with an I remember all ideas there. I don't believe that there's any original ideas, but there's nothing new under the sun. Everything comes out of the one divine mind, and it comes to us to give birth to. And if we don't move on it, you know what happens to Terrell? We don't move on that $1 million, multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar idea. You know what's going to happen? It's going to leave you and go to somebody else who's ready to say yes to it.
Mhm. Yeah, and then there's so I'm glad that you broke that down for us. But there's also the flip side of that too, that I see with some folks, is that they'll 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 ask, they'll give faith and pray for the riches, the blessings, and all that. But I like to call it stinking thinking. They're like, oh, this ain't never gonna work, or this they don't have the positive thinking and doing the affirmations that they need to do. um and I know you alluded to some of that earlier, but the power of positive thinking and affirmations, from your perspective, how can these practices truly transform lives when they're implemented correctly?
I do believe, Taryell, that when we change our thinking, we change our lives. And for so long, remember, a mind that's been conditioned for the negative. One positive thought is not going to get rid of all of those negative weeds. One
Mm,
seed, positive seed thought. And so, as we're working on building and increasing our faith, and especially as it pertains to prosperity, we're going to have to pluck up all of those weeds that's telling you, or when you looking at your bank account saying one thing, but you're praying and affirming, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. And maybe the bank account is reflecting. I remember how, let me tell you, I have this colleague, and she was working on her prosperity consciousness. Right, I'm rich. She was working. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. And she went and checked her bank account, and she looked at her bank account, and it showed that it was in the red. And she said, "That's a lie. That is a lie." And she logged off. She said, "I am the rich child of God, regardless to what this bank account says." And then you know what she did? She went and printed out her bank statement. Now listen, this is how you got to trick the mind. You got to learn. We got to learn how to. We can trick the mind, and the mind that we got to. The mind. Remember, we teach that there are three phases of mind. There's the superconscious mind. That's the
yeah.
divine mind. That's connected to all the Christ, the God within. Then there is the subconscious mind. That mind that stands under. That's the deeper mind. And then there's the conscious mind. The conscious mind is governed by all of our senses, what we taste, touch, feel, see, and smell. You
Uh-huh.
know, based on the information I can gather, it makes sense. And the conscious mind feeds the deeper mind.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing: she took that statement, she printed out her statement that had a negative balance. You know
Uh-huh.
what she did?
What she
She
did?
blocked it out. She blotted it out, and she put in there the number that she wanted
Uh-huh.
on her statement. And she held that in mind until her statement, her bank account reflected that number. You
Wow.
see, we have to change the image.
Uh-huh.
The conscious mind is to be the gatekeeper of the soul, but the conscious mind is only, remember, go back to the story when Moses sent out the spies, and he says, "Go and survey the land and see if we can take over the land." Only two came back with a positive report. I think it was Caleb and Joshua. Yeah, they're mighty. There's a mighty army out there, but we can take that land. We can see it. We can
Mm,
take it. But those who couldn't see it, they could not enter it. And
mm,
so we have to condition the mind, train the mind,
mm-hmm,
put images. That's why we do vision boards and treasure mapping and mind mapping. We
mm-hmm,
cut out images of that reflect the image that we hold in our heart. We work on our affirmations and
mm-hmm.
denials. And when that thought that's contrary to what we're working on, you're working on prosperity, you get that thought, you don't have no money. You got to cancel that thought. You got to pull down every stronghold, pull it down.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not the truth of me. And you cannot judge by the appearance, because the truth is you have a reservoir. We all have a treasure. We have we have we have treasures that we know not of. You just not
Right.
might not be able to see it with your physical eyes, but see it with your spiritual eye.
That resonates with me so deeply, because something that comes to mind is the whole reason why I started this podcast is because I used to go out and help young folks through different workforce development programs to help them get into really good middle wage jobs. And a lot of young
Mhm.
people, they would see me and they're like, "Well, you're the only one out here doing that. Like, I'm gonna do this rapping thing, or I'm gonna do this ball player thing, because that's often what they see." And then I realized, oh, I need to change the visuals and put a podcast like this and do things, because they can't be what they can't see. They can't
Sure.
they don't see that, you know Bishop Jake, he doing things in the ministry that he loves with the people he loves and living in wealth and abundance, and it's possible, right? And
Yeah,
so they need to see more of these different things, so that they can strive to be those things. And so I appreciate you breaking it down in that way, because subconsciously it hit me again, like, oh man, that's the whole reason why I do this.
Yeah, and that's so powerful and beautiful that you do, Terrell. And that's we all need that. I had to have it once I saw that it was possible, and I saw people who looked like me living differently than what the way that I was raised and reared. And I'm like, really, you can be bi-coastal and have homes here and there, and you can travel here and there, and I'm like, I didn't know that that was a lifestyle, that it was
Man.
possible.
And I
This I
want to
want to
say
encourage.
differently and abundantly.
and abundantly. And listen, I have this thing now, even with the ministries, and they all know we don't do loans. I believe
Mm.
that God can give it to us in cash just as fast as God can give it to us in a 30-year mortgage. And so we don't do loans. And it takes conditioning the mind and conditioning the heart and believing and standing on that so the congregation knows we're not going to do loans. I don't like loans. I thank God for the lending companies, but I don't want to owe no man, no woman,
Mm.
no institutions, nothing. We're supposed to be the lenders and not the borrowers, the head and not
Mm.
the tail. They're supposed to be coming to us, and we're supposed to be providing that. And if we're not doing that, we have to work on the mindset and the heart
Mhm.
set to get there. If
Mhm.
those of you, if I wanted to lift up this book, if you don't have this book, it's by Reverend Ike, Health,
Mhm.
Joy, and Prosperity for You. Everybody, he calls it fried chicken for the soul. Get this book. Get this book. Go online. In fact, you can go on Amazon, but get it. There are
Right.
52 weeks, 52 chapters
Uh-huh.
to guide a person through the whole year. I was teaching this, and this is something that, although I never met Reverend Ike in the physical, I told you, he transitioned 1 year before I started working with the family, met the family. But he
Nice.
has come to me numerous times in
Mhm.
the spirit and in my dreams and guided me. And this is what he told me.
Mhm.
He says, Jack, if you take me with you wherever you go, I will bless you and bless the space where you are.
Mm.
And what that means, what I've learned, is that if I carry, embody the teachings and the principles that he stood on. You see, he
Mhm.
was a liberator of minds. Most people thought, oh, he was just after the money. No, he was teaching
Mhm.
healing and oneness before he became known for his prosperity consciousness. And the people who gravitated to him came with four primary concerns. They
Mhm.
wanted prayer for their
Mhm.
financial situations, prayer over their health and their healing, prayer over their relationships, and the fourth one is that they needed a stronger, deeper connection with God. And so
Nice.
he summed up all of his teachings to minister to people in that way. And the miracles and the magic started happening. And so the principles are there, even the God and money. And
Mhm.
Bishop Dr. Barbara King, transform your life, transform your life. So there's a lot of wealth of information out here,
Nice.
and
I
we just
love
got
that.
to get it. And if the person who's ready will be directed and led to the avenues that will lift them and support them. And the other thing we got to do, Taryell, we got to change our circle.
Yeah.
I might have to change. If you're the only one in your circle, if everybody in your circle is broke, but you got to change your circle because we're
Mhm.
going to attract those. Eventually, we're going to attract according to the energy of those that we hang around. And
Yeah.
so those who are wanting to make a change, I don't care if it's mama, daddy, brother, sister, son, or daughter. You might
Mhm.
have to change your circle for right now so you can get to the other side of your experience.
Yeah. That's so true. Now I want to dive into some of this community work that you're doing and the Blessing Shoe initiative because I think that's such a beautiful initiative and I can't wait to get my pair of shoes. I
Yay.
can I can be walking in faith with you.
That's
Uh,
evoking and invoking the promise of Philippians 4:19. And my
uh,
God shall supply all your needs, all
mm,
your needs.
love it, love it. So your initiatives, blessing hands USA, the blessing
.com.
shoe are
Yes.
making significant impacts. And can you tell more about those
Ab-
projects and what you're doing with
Absolutely.
them?
Several years ago, when I was serving Reverend Ike's ministry in New York, upper Manhattan, which is a predominantly a large Dominican community, I
Mhm.
started Blessing Hands as a ministry of the church to just help. That's been in my heart. I grew up. My mother did that. She was a single parent working in the factory all day, but when she prepared a meal, it was for everybody in the community.
Mhm.
And so we learned that from her. And I started this ministry that has now
Mhm.
become my humanitarian organization, Blessing Hands USA, where we do whether it's relief work in different parts of the world, from Haiti to Dominican Republic to the Philippines
Mhm.
to Ghana, all different parts of the country here. And whenever we get a call, we provide support, we provide help. When the tsunami hit, or whenever the hurricane hit, we sent, I think it was like 80,000 meals to Puerto Rico, and we sent aid and support to those who are in St. Croix because we got the call. And so we help as we can. So a part of the way we've done ministry, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10. I've always had a spiritual hustle going on so I can help my people and help. And from the Blessing Hands USA, we've launched the Blessing Shoe. And the Blessing Shoe really came as, I didn't intend to do it. It just evolved like that. And
Nice.
it's a luxury shoe, Italian made in Italy. The same company that makes Alexander McQueen shoes
Nice.
make the Blessing shoes. And so the shoes have been blessed and consecrated to evoke the power and the promise of Philippians 4:19. So it's a luxury line. Now listen,
Hmm.
it's a luxury line because I believe that as representatives of the divine, we're supposed to represent,
Hmm.
and it's available. So we use the proceeds from the Blessing Shoe to, help other causes. Right now, we're partnered with an organization here in Atlanta. It's called Safe House, where they're providing services and support to those of our brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles who are considered homeless or home free. And for every pair of the Blessing Shoe that gets purchased, we are donating shoes and socks to help. And that's from research and from many conversations,
Hmm.
the most, I guess, requested item or items from people who are houseless or homeless are shoes and socks. And so we're looking to meet that need. Now, let me tell you about the shoe. The
Okay.
shoe is so significant because in our teachings, the feet represent our understanding.
Hmm.
Your feet is your understanding. When Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, he washed their understanding. And he says, unless I wash your understanding, you can have no part of me. The
Mm.
shoe is the covering of our understanding of the truth of who and what we are. See, a lot of people have a erroneous understanding of themselves. They think that they are their conditions and their circumstance and their situation, their past mistakes and their habits and their bank account. And they identify themselves with the
Mm.
things that they have and don't have. And so as we are distributing these shoes, we're also helping to change the understanding of the individual.
Mm.
And when we can help change their mind, they can then change their lives.
Mm.
And
Man,
so, whether it's the Blessing Shoe or I launched a few skincare products for men, the Bishop line, I have the line as a tribute to my mother who transitioned actually
uh,
January 14th of last year, Delia Beauty for women, all, products that are natural
mhm.
but powerful skincare products. So I use all of that to help expand the ministry and do the work of ministry, realizing that tithes and offerings can only do so much. And
Mhm.
God gives us these divine ideas and we just have to work them.
Yeah, I love how you've been able to intertwine your entrepreneurial spirits into something that is truly remarkable, uplifting, and spiritual. So these shoes are so divine that they helping you. Once you slip a pair on, you slipping into a level of luxury and abundance and blessings that keep on stepping.
Absolutely. And listen, with and they're intentional. The elevated soul
Uh-huh.
lifts you, and even it's going to give you at least 2 more inches to your height, right? But
Uh-huh.
it's all intentional. That represents the elevation of consciousness. And
Wow.
so, the one thing that can do anything, the one
Uh,
thing that can become anything, the one thing that can create anything is consciousness.
right.
And when we get the consciousness of wealth and prosperity, the consciousness of the divine, everything else will follow. Jesus said, if you get you first the kingdom, seek the kingdom, all of the riches and all these other things will follow.
I
And
love it.
consciousness is our awareness of our oneness with Source, that wherever we walk, you put on those blessing shoes, you're to be reminded. It's going to trigger wherever you go as prosperous ground. It's
Mhm.
holy ground. It's rich and wealthy ground. And you can invoke that. We can evoke that wherever we go. It could be a stranger sitting beside you. I've had this happen to me so many times.
Mhm.
A stranger next to you, don't even know your name, but they just feel compelled to be a blessing to you because you're in
Mm.
that consciousness. You're at that vibration on that frequency. You don't have
Mhm.
to ask. David, go back to Psalm 23. I know you're trying to get off this line, but I just got to give you this. David, he got to a point when he says, "My cup runneth over."
Mm-hmm.
He had gotten to a point of his oneness with Source that he didn't have to ask for anything. It just kept coming and running
Mm-hmm.
over and overflowing. And from the overflow, we get to bless our family, our friends, and the world around us, those around us. Most people trying to give from their cup, and their cup is empty. They don't have it to give. As much as you want to give, you don't have it to
Mm-hmm.
give. People don't have it to give, but
Yeah.
there's a way to make sure that your cup is overflowing, and we are blessed to be a blessing. And most people stop their flow after they get their good. Oh, I got to hold on to it, it might not come back. No, you've just blocked up and stopped your flow. Stay
Mm-hmm.
in that constant flow, that
I love
constant
that.
flow. I'm only the channel. I
Right.
am the channel through which the universe, through which God is blessing the world.
I
I am
love
the
that.
channel. I am the channel.
Man, I love that. I love that. Man, this has been a powerful episode. As we as we wrap up, Bishop J, any final thoughts or advice for our listeners, especially those striving to both spiritually and like they're striving for that spiritual and material success? And like what can we leave them with? What can we leave them with? I know they gotta check the website, they gotta get them books that you talked about. And don't worry if you're driving, we're gonna put all that stuff in the show notes. I'm gonna get the information from the great Bishop. But give me some call to actions for the folks who want to connect with you.
Two very quick things, and this is I encourage individual. There's two things that I encourage everybody to do. I started doing it. I was encouraged to do it as a early on, as a child, and I'll tell you this. And I had in the church that I grew up in, the Baptist church, our head deacon was a fortune teller in the community, and I used to hang out with all of the elders. And I was always wanting to just hang out with them, and he gave me a reading one time, and I had to be about 13, 14. In that reading, he talked about all these things that I'm going to do. And he says, listen, you will never have to worry about money. You will
Mm-hmm.
never have to worry about money. And there are two things that I was taught to do: learn the 23rd Psalm and pray the Lord's Prayer constantly. If you can pray that prayer, the Lord's Prayer, at least 7 times a day, what it does, it's been proven that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to align the energy centers, the chakra centers in the body. You don't even have to believe it. Just
Mm-hmm.
start praying it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it through repetition, it's going to impress the deeper mind. And then work on, get those images that reflect prosperity. Get anything that's going to cause a negative thought, belief, begin to, cancel that. Every time you get a impoverished thought to come up, oh, you ain't got no money, cancel that. Cancel that. I cancel that. And then affirm the truth. I am the rich child of a loving God.
Mm-hmm.
And surround yourself, nurture your relationship with the divine, that presence within you. That's the greatest gift. Get to know this presence, spend time with it, and quiet. Turn off all the TVs keep on your podcast, stay tuned into
There.
Taryell, but turn off all the other noise in the world. Get off the TikTok, put
Right.
all that stuff down. Spend some quiet. I maybe start with 5 minutes a day in the morning before you start your day.
Right.
Just check in. Start with source and then ask for that guidance, and you'll be guided.
Right.
Spirit will always lead. It will lead you in the way that you're to go.
I love that. The spirit will always lead you. Man, thank you so much, Bishop Jake. Your profound insight
Jack, yeah.
is been wonderful. And to our listeners, remember to subscribe to Rise Urban Nation for more inspiring content like this. Stay tuned, stay united, uplifted, and ignited. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next time.
Thank you so much, Taryell.
Anytime.